this chapter, we talked about the different types of support that you can use. Now, we're going to be talking about the different ways that you can use that support, otherwise known as the forms of support that we can use in a speech. The first form of support that we can use are quotations. And a quotation is when we are directly quoting something that we have read in our support. So we are using the exact words that someone else used. And quotations can be good. They can be useful. However, in speech making, we want to keep our quotations to a bare minimum. We only want to use quotations when the specific wording of that quotation is really important or it's really profound. Because what happens in speech making with quotations is that we have to make sure that we get every word of that quotation correct. So every word of that quotation ends up on our note cards, and then our eyes end up on our note cards as we are reading the quotation. So it decreases the amount of eye contact that we can make with the audience and can actually make us sound less credible if we're using too many. Because again, your voice starts to get lost if you are quoting other people too frequently. So we want to keep quotations to a minimum. Instead, we want to use more paraphrasals. And paraphrasals are when you say something that someone else said, but you say it more concisely. You say it in your own voice. And this is beneficial in speech making because now it's not as important to get every single word in the paraphrasal correct, right? Because it's not a direct quotation. You're saying it in your own words. So if you transpose words in a paraphrasal, it doesn't really matter because no one's going to know the difference. And now that you're not going to be reading a quotation off of your note card, you can make more eye contact with the audience. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to take the quotations from the sources that you're reading and paraphrase them into your own words. If you are looking at a larger work, you want to probably summarize that work. Summaries are when you condense an entire text. So you're either condensing an entire article or perhaps an entire chapter of a book, that sort of thing. And you're letting your audience know what the gist of the information in that article or book, that text, is. You're not telling them very specific ideas from it. You're just kind of giving them the bare outline of what was discussed in that text. Right? You're giving them a general summary, a general overview of the information that was in that text. You can also provide numerical support. And this is when we use things like statistics and graphs and that sort of thing, which we've already talked about previously. But when you're using numerical support, you want to make sure that you explain to your audience what those numbers mean and that you clearly state the numbers and where they came from. Another important part of numerical support is that you don't have to use the exact numbers that were reported in the support. So for example, if an article that you read said that 54,285 people are affected by this thing every year, you don't have to say 52,854, whatever I just said. You can simply say over 54,000 people are affected by this disease, whatever it is, every single year. And rounding off those numbers not only makes it easier for you to remember, but it also makes it easier for your audience to comprehend because they don't care about the other 854. They just want to know that it's over X number of thousand. Finally, you can use pictographic support in the form of visual aids. We'll be talking about visual aids in a lot greater detail in the weeks to come. However, for now, just know that you can use pictures and graphs and charts and diagrams and all those sorts of things in order to help support your arguments. So for example, you could use a line graph to show how something has increased or decreased over time. You could use a pie chart to show the proportions of something. These visual aids can be really useful in helping your audience to understand the concepts that you're talking about because now they're not only getting it through the oral sense, but they're also being able to see it with their own eyes. So that helps us to better comprehend. And again, you want to use a various amount of these different forms of support. So you don't just want to use quotations or just use summaries, right? You want to use a combination of these in your speech so that you keep things nice and interesting for your audience.